Greetings, everyone. It's great to be with you. Thank you for everything you do by the way of growing and learning and serving. On this occasion, we'll have a presentation entitled Mystical Poetry. And I know it's a subject that many of you are very involved with in reading and creating your own artwork, including poetry. And we'll see how it's got a lot to do with being a mystic. Now, by way of introduction, I'll say that the November 1972 issue of the Rosicrucian Digest included an article entitled Mystic Poetry by Peter Bowden. We'll follow up on that article and consider how our mystical experience, though ineffable, is nevertheless eminently worth describing and sharing through various forms of creative expression. And we'll consider poetry in its wide-ranging forms for the conveyance of mystical experience and the emulation of the cosmic. And in this regard, I wanted to show you an image that has great import in the Rosicrucian tradition. You see before you now works from ancient Egypt associated with the Queen Nefertiti and the king or pharaoh Akhenaten. His reign and work being active around 1350 BCE. And they operated together, sharing their wisdom and understanding and guidance, along with T and Tutmos III in their tradition and working together. We'll see on the left side here, incised stonework showing in the upper right the Aten, or the sun, which is some symbol of the invisible sun or the living sun that Akhenaten wrote about in his great hymn that we'll talk about shortly. Outwardly, they appear to be worshiping the sun, but that's an allegory. We're going more deeper into the experience of the cosmic. That is the experience of the cosmos and all its laws and principles and the universal intelligence back of it. Befittingly part of the early traditional history of the Rosicrucians. You'll notice on the light rays emanating from the sun, they're on the ends towards Nefertiti and Akhenaten. There's hands at the end of the rays that have Ankhs, the symbol of life. On the right, we'll see actually hieroglyphic inscriptions. We know that the great poetic work of Akhenaten, the hymn to Aten, and also including part of that, the great hymn to Aten, its longer form, that it's recorded in various ways, including inscriptions such as we see on our right. In that regard, let's move forward, and you'll see a little more what I'm getting at here. Part of the great hymn to Aten had the following words, and we go through various forms of poems and poetry and poetic expression. I'll read and show you pieces that give a sense of the whole. How manifold it is, what thou hast made. They are hidden from the face of humankind. O sole God, like whom there is no other, thou didst create the world according to thy desire. Whilst thou wert alone, all people, cattle, and wild beasts, whatever is on earth, going upon its feet, and what is on high, flying with its wings. So you get a sense of an expansive sense of creation, especially that we come into as students of mysticism, great observers of nature. Soon when we do our meditation period, we'll apply this in what we've learned. We'll take in the entirety of creation. Indeed, in mystical poetry, you can think of it as taking in the laws of nature and revealing them or suggesting them, but also can convey the wonder and grandeur of all life. And it can help us attune with the cosmic and what Rosicrucians refer to as the inner self, that is our true nature, our master within. In this regard, while we continue with our presentation, I'll have a period turn inward, and we'll follow up on poetics and poetry as part of our meditation period. So let's focus in on this image at first. In a way, we'll apply it, because in a way, we will experience the inner invisible sun that Akhenaten and Nefertiti are experiencing at this time. We'll experience those great rays of the vital life force suggested coming from the sun as we breathe in and feel our bodies in holy temples charged. We'll feel a deeper expression of all natural and spiritual laws that are taught in our weekly lessons of the Rosicrucians. So inspired by this image from millennia ago, in a way it conveys a timeless meaning to us, a message in eternity that we'll experience now. I invite you to close your eyes. Soon we'll follow the instructions of the key meditation booklet of the Rosicrucians, Liber 777. But first, let's let go of the cares of the day. Sit comfortably in our chairs, spine upright. We can breathe in an unencumbered way. Or if you prefer to be lying down or situated in some other form, as long as you can breathe easily, we'll apply the breath and the life force suggested by those great rays of the sun, a symbol of the Ankh coming to us. And I invite you to breathe a little deeper than usual and to extend your exhalation longer than usual. And we'll take in the vital life force, the VLF, known in some traditions also as the prana or the chi. And feel the invigoration, especially if we can breathe in fresh, cool air. You can feel a great tingling in the body. It has a healing, wholesome effect. We take in more oxygen and nitrogen and other chemical constituents of the air, but also that essence, the vital life force, particularly the cosmic essence, which is the positive polarity of the vital life force. And as you extend your exhalation longer than the inhalation, I think you'll find that the great vagus nerve is stimulated. There's the relaxation response. And with each extended exhalation, we'll feel a cumulative or building effect, being more and more relaxed, feeling more and more calm, more and more tranquility, more and more equanimity, more and more imperturbability. Just continue to enjoy this breathing exercise, which is a form of meditation. Just enjoy the purification, the incoming and outgoing breath. Just let go of the cares of the day, especially with your exhalation. Just focus on the present, anchored by the breath. We know in some of the poetic expressions of the sacred texts of the world, the breath figures prominently. For example, the concept of Brahma in Hinduism through the breath, creating the cosmos. So too we as co-creators, microcosm and macrocosms, we are creators of our life, our circumstances, healers of ourselves and others. These inspiring thoughts, the great image, the worship of Pharaoh Akhenaten, the Queen Nefertiti. Let us continue our exercise, enjoying the gentle rhythm of the breath. If ever we find our mind wandering, that's okay. It's all part of the process. No need for any self-negativity in this or anything else. Just return back to the gentle rhythm and anchor of the breath as we move deeper and deeper into ourselves and feel the making whole, the healing effect. Soon we'll apply the instructions of the booklet Liber 777. It'll give you resources on towards the end of the presentation. It's a great book to keep coming back to again and again as we grow up and mature. We'll see even more and more in it. For its text is cosmically inspired. In a way, you could think of the booklet as an emulation of the cosmic to help us attune with the cosmic and allow us to express and emulate the cosmic at its mastership in our own life. Central purpose of the Rosicrucian studies and teachings and of being a human being. Now let us continue to apply the law of purification through our breath and through the following prayer and invocation, which I invite you to say with me. May the divine essence of the cosmic fuse my being and cleanse me of all impurities of mind and body. I may enter the celestial sanctum and attune in pureness and in worthiness. So mote it be. I invite you at this time to use all your psychic capacity and imaginative faculties to picture yourself rising up from the room where you are, your home or your office or building. And just rise up over your house, your building, and see the neighborhood below, system and order. Even now, your neighborhood, your town or your village or city or local geographic area. And just picture yourself rising up higher and higher, enjoying the ascent. And we'll describe it with poetic language to help deepen our understanding, tune us with the cosmic. As we rise up higher and higher, see below our county and even now our province or state, and the river systems, the waterways, the great bodies of water, the mountains, the hills, the farmers' fields, the deserts, whatever is applicable to your state or province. As we rise up higher and higher, past the clouds, into the great bursts of sunlight, or view of the moon, depending on your location. Let us rise up even now over our great nation or country and seeing the vast view of our continent and even our hemisphere. And now poetically speaking, the beautiful blue jewel of the earth. See the continents, bodies of waters, the weather systems, clouds, the earth rotating about its axis, slightly bulged at its equator. Let us continue to rise higher and higher into the solar system, taking in the great elliptical orbits, the planets, great rings of Saturn, the huge size of Jupiter, the great fiery ball of the sun. The planets revolve about. Let us continue higher and higher, way past our home of the solar system, past myriad stars and stellar phenomena, quasars, the pulsars, and even the black holes, helping balance the universe. Higher and higher, faster and faster, way beyond the speed of light as we transcend space and time now, and enjoy the exhilaration of ascent and apply the law correspondence as above, so below. As we ascend higher and higher, we'll go deeper and deeper within, experience more and more the divine within, the master within our true nature. Now sense the great rotations about its center of our local home, the Milky Way galaxy, its great spiraling arms. Let us even exit out from that galaxy, looking back at its beauty and wonder, and keep rising up higher and higher past other galaxies, some in a spiraling formation like the Milky Way and some in other patterns. Past the nebula, the great cosmic web connecting the planets and the galaxies. Great sense of vibrations of the cosmos, spoken of the Rosicrucians as the cosmic keyboard, tremendous ocean of vibrations on higher and higher octaves, all matching each other up from one C note to another, one D note to another, and similar, in great harmony and system and order as we rise higher and higher into the cosmos. At a certain point, too, I think you'll get a sense of the cosmos as a whole, the entire dynamic universe, rotating about a great cosmic axis spoken of since ancient time by mystics and ancient philosophers. Sense the stupendous motion of the cosmos about an axis, the great harmony of the spheres, the celestial music. Let us speed up and move towards the very midpoint or center of that great cosmic axis. And when we reach it, let us slow up and dwell in stillness, taking in the stupendous view all around us of the rotations of the cosmos. All natural and spiritual laws fully at effect in the macrocosm, just like they're working mirrored in us as a microcosm and the holy temple that houses our master within. That holy temple is mirrored now in the temple of the divine, the cosmos all around us. Now, applying the instructions of the booklet, Liber 777. Let's picture our personal celestial sanctum, the heights of the celestial sanctum, and the heights of the cosmos. You may wish to picture an inspiring temple on earth, or you may wish to picture some inspiring place in nature on earth on a high hill with a great vantage point or a mountain, expanded view, or looking over an expansive body of water, such as a sea, a lake, or an ocean, or by a sacred grove. Fill in the sights and sounds of your chosen place, sacred edifice, place in nature. Make it real, make it vital. You may wish to sense with you others on this conference call, and the visible and invisible masters, Grand Lodge officers, the Supreme Grand Lodge officers of the Rosicrucian Order at Amorc, and other seekers. And beautiful stained glass windows or other ways you can see symbols depicting Rosicrucian laws and principles or mystical laws and principles. Maybe incense rising up, demonstrating the law of transmutation that we have applied to rise to the heights of the celestial sanctum. So just enjoy being at the center of the cosmos, at the center of your being, filling in image of your personal sacred space, your celestial sanctum. By Rosicrucians refer to as the exercise of visualization. Feel the inspiration of being at this holy place, the highest level of consciousness for us to attune with. Being more fully ourselves. And when you've completed your visualization, release it. And if it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So mote it be. In through the subconscious into the cosmic mind. Let us dwell for a while in stillness and silence, feeling all there is to feel and surrender to the divine within now. Dwell in stillness. You can anchor your concentration on your breath, incoming and outgoing. Like the breath that brought the cosmos into being and sustains it. Whatever impressions come to your mind, take note of them, but return back to the discipline of the breath and the stillness. Increasingly, the presence of the divine within, our true nature and guide in life. The vastness at the heights of the celestial sanctum, the cosmos all about us, suggests the inner vastness within us, passing from the Rosicrucians refer to as the finite plane to the infinite plane as we meditate now. And we sense all time, past, present, and future. And the way we sense eternity now is an intellectual, philosophical concept. But eternally now, spoken of by the traditional Rosicrucian William Blake in his poem Auguries of Innocence. He spoke about eternity in an hour, and heaven in a wildflower. Let's dwell on that as we take in cosmic music. Before we descend from the heights of the celestial sanctum, and we continue in cosmic attunement, I invite you to partake of the work of the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Solace of the Rosicrucian Order Amorc. And we'll have a period of sending of metaphysical aid to all those in need. I invite you at this time to radiate love and well-being from the depths of your being, from the divine within, to all those who petition the Grand Lodge of the Rosicrucian Order Amorc for guidance and healing, and to radiate love and well-being to all those who petition the filial bodies of the Rosicrucian Order Amorc for guidance and healing, and to radiate love and well-being to all those you know who are in need of guidance and healing, and finally, to radiate love and well-being to all sentient beings throughout the cosmos that are in need of guidance and healing. Just let the love and well-being flow out from you at a tremendous rate, just as we ascended to the heights of the celestial sanctum at a tremendous rate. And feel the exhilaration of the flow out from you, like a great flooding out of water, or a great search beam shining outward, filling the cosmos. We're all in need. At a certain point, I think you'll find the flow will speed up and you know you're reaching those in need. And you no longer need to make any conscious effort for the flow to continue. When that happens, just surrender and let the process continue. And one with the one. Consciousness of the cosmic. And then we'll formally close this period of sending metaphysical aid, but we'll continue our meditation period. Complete this work of the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Solace. Let us be reassured that the flow will continue as a way of life, as part of our mission in life. Formally, we can say now, continue our work and worship of the Rosicrucian Order. If it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So mote it be. Let us dwell a while longer at the heights of the celestial sanctum. We applied the law of service, the law of correspondence, the law of love, and continue to apply the law of cosmic attunement. Before we begin our descent from the heights, celestial sanctum, let us also apply now the law of gratitude, which intensifies the application of the law of love and the law of cosmic attunement. Let us express our gratitude and thanks to all those who have loved us well, to all those who have served us, to all those who have taught us well, to all those who have sacrificed will on our behalf. We remember and know them always in gratitude. I invite you now to when we close our period of cosmic attunement, the heights of the celestial sanctum, speeding at great rate past the myriad stars and galaxies and nebula, enjoying the exhilaration of the descent. Sensing the great harmony of the spheres, the celestial music. We see in the distance great spiraling arms of the Milky Way galaxy, our local home. Let us plunge in the great arm where we dwell, past the myriad stars, and quasars and pulsars, and rogue planets, asteroids, comets. We see in the distance the Milky Way galaxy, our local star, the sun, beautiful blue jewel of the earth, our home and temple. Return back to the hemisphere where we left off, a continent, a great nation or country, our province or state, our county and our local geographic area, or city or town or village. I invite you to say with me the following closing invocation and prayer. May the God of my heart sanctify this attunement of self with the celestial sanctum, so mote it be. Let us continue our descent into our neighborhood, building, home, or office where we left off, however we're situated, seated, or lying down, or otherwise. We sense all the more the holy temple of the body, housing the mighty master within, divine within our true nature, feeling rested, re-energized, reintegrated, remade, reborn. Continue to apply the law of cosmic attunement and the radiant of love and well-being, part of our mission in life. We're fully ourselves. Fully on track on the mystical path and the path of maturity and growing up. Evolving our consciousness. Thank you, everyone. Please feel free to open your eyes when you're ready, and we'll continue with our presentation. We'll move through a series of poets, just like we've discussed already, McNaughton and William Blake, and they're important. It's in the tradition of the Rosicrucians. Now, we have before us one of the great poets of the 20th century, Gwendolyn Ewan. In Toronto, Ontario, Canada, there's actually a park named after her, and you can see the statue and the monument to her on the right. In fact, during one of our mystical tours of Toronto, conducted by Toronto Lodge of the Rosicrucian Digest, one of our stops on the way was to visit this park and lay a rose on this monument. I remember once as a young person having an encounter with Gwendolyn, and our eyes met each other, and you can see the depth of her understanding in this picture, and a deep sense of the involvement of her soul personality, which I'll remember for the rest of my life. You know, thinking about poetry, Gwendolyn gives a great deal to understand that. I know that we often think of it traditionally as the art of rhythmical conceptions, written or spoken. For exciting, it can be pleasure or different emotions, like beautiful, or the contrary to beauty, imaginative and elevated thoughts, piercing thoughts. Indeed, another great poet that Gwendolyn was following the tradition of Emily Dickinson said about poetry. If I read a book and it makes my whole body so cold, no fire can warm me, I know it is poetry. If I feel physically as if the top of my head were taken off, I know that poetry. These are the only ways I know of. So you see very beautifully expressed by Emily Dickinson is the physical, the emotional, the psychic, intellectual, and mystical experience that we know we're dealing with poetry. In this regard, too, I invite you in a closer up view of the monument to Gwendolyn. And we have inscribed in stone there, and you can see the life of her earthly incarnation, 1941 to 1987. She was born during World War II. She had a very intense upbringing, included the passing of her away of her mother when Gwendolyn was a girl, and that made a very deep and strong impression. And it took her very deeply into life in contact with the divine within and the master within that she transmuted and emulated in her cosmic experience through her poetry. And you'll see on the lower right is what's inscribed in stone from her poem Late Song. But it is never over. Nothing ends until we want it to. Look, in shattered midnights, on black ice, under silver trees, we are dancing, dancing. And you can see, in a way, she's living up to what in the Rosicrucian and Martinist tradition, refer to poetry as conveying the original angelic language the human being was in contact with from the beginning of time to the end of time and in eternity, that it suggests our true home. In a similar spirit, there was another poet that was active when Gwendolyn was active, particularly in the 60s, the 70s, and in the 80s. And his name was B.P. Nicol, which I know many of you are familiar with. In fact, after his transition or great initiation, there was a movement to have a laneway in downtown Toronto named after him near Robarts Library, University of Toronto. It's called BP Lane now. And this is inscribed in stone again, one of his poems. It's beside the celebrated Coach House Press, who published many of the poets of Canada in it. It was originally was a coach house. And I remember as a student living nearby that coach house, and I could see at night the old printing press spinning around at work where BP Nicol volunteered. It's befitting, and on that Rosicrucian tour I mentioned in Toronto, we followed in the tradition of pouring water like a libation into the recesses of this work carved into the street, particularly on the lake. It's beautiful, a lake, a lane, a line, alone. In a way, it conveys what we did in our mystical attunement today. And if you follow this poem as it moved towards us, you're actually close to the shores of one of the great lakes of the world, Lake Ontario, part of the largest freshwater system in the world, the Great Lakes. Similar to this tradition associated with B.P. Nicol, I'll show you a few more of his works. And here's a beautiful picture of him on the left, in a way, poetically shaping his hands like a poem forms an image, an insight. And you notice the depth in his eyes. In the middle is one of his remarkable concrete poems and related. It's entitled The Complete Works. Now, often when we see complete works, we think of a large volume, but in a way you see at the bottom, it says in asterisk, any possible permutation of all listed elements. So you see before us here, taking those letters, lowercase and uppercase, which relate back to how cases were placed in earlier times in printing. And we have the numbers and we have various symbols that you could write all the monographs of the Rosicrucian order. You could write the Shakespearean works. You could write in various other languages. In a way, we have the microcosm, the macrocosm in this complete works in the center there. It gives us that expansive comprehension that we come into in cosmic attunement. And on the right, we have the poem entitled Blues. And you'll notice there's a play on letters there, L and O and V and E, that suggests, yes, law of love. But also you'll notice various other words as emerge that are of mystical and spiritual intent that B.P. Nicol is very aware of. For example, evolve, like the part of the purpose of the human being is to evolve consciousness. but there's a plain and dynamic arrangement of how they're placed. There's a way of visual poetry as well as the literary poetry before us. In a similar manner, I want to mention another great work of poetry that struck me early on as a student of the Rosicrucians. I think you'll see before you now a rather remarkable and haunting sight. This is actually a scene from the puppet theater Barge that's in Camden Town in London, England. And during the summer, the barge travels to different parts of England. And inside the barge is a puppet theater. Yes, a marionette you'll see here with the thin strings. And here's the mariner, part of the rhyme of the ancient mariner of the mystic poet and writer Samuel Coleridge, writing in the late 18th century, early 19th century. Now, Samuel Coleridge was greatly influenced by the Rosicrucians. He knew the work, for example, of Robert Fludd, and I'll show you one of Robert Fludd's great diagrams here, the mirror of the whole of nature and the image of art. And it shows a great microcosmic, macrocosmic diagram, which we applied in our meditation. In the way of scholars is to point out the story of the ancient mariner, a wondrous epic work of poetry that was enacted in the puppet theater Barge when I was a Rosicrucian student early on in my studies. At the time, I felt very deeply in 1982 when I saw there's a very deep current in there. As one of my history professors mentioned, never forget anything. And over the years, I've been on the lookout. I finally saw that, yes, in the rhyme of the ancient mariner, they're applying the deep teachings of the Rosicrucians. Because in the story of the ancient mariner, the mariner saw an albatross, one of the great soaring birds of the world, goes great distance over the sea and ocean. I know some of you have seen. It was thought it was an ill omen, and the mariner shot it, and then all calamity came down on them. In a way, it's like Flood and also others that Coleridge was well aware of. Example, the Zohar, various symbolism and imagery he uses from the Zohar, but also various ideas from Flood and Jacob Boehme. That, as in this diagram you see on the left, that as a microcosm, the journey of the mariner and of his shipmates, they were a mini universe. And by disturbing, not taking into account the holiness of all life, taking down the great symbol of bird, in a way mirroring the act of the expulsion from paradise by Adam and Eve and the great consequence for humanity. The mariner had to learn a great lesson. And in that conveyance, where he's speaking to a person coming and going, or say coming to a marriage ceremony, again, a mystical symbol in itself, the union of our inner and outer nature. Towards the end, he said these profound words in his lesson: "Farewell, farewell, but I tell to thee, thou wedding guest, he prayeth well who loveth well, both man and bird and beast. He prayeth best who loveth best, all things both great and small. For the dear God who loveth us, he made and loveth all." These are part of the great lessons of life for us that are conveyed through that epic work of poetry. Now, in terms of a few more passages in poetry I want to mention to you before we conclude, the poetic can often be referred to not only visually, as I mentioned to in the blues poem by B.P. Nicol, but the poetic can be expressed in sculpture, can be expressed in opera, it can be expressed in painting. Here you'll see the signature in the lower left of F.A. Silva from 1876, one of the master marine painters of the United States, Francis Augustus Silva. In his paintings, he wanted to go deeper than emotion and deeper than thought. And think of the Rosicrucian schematic diagram, go below the objective mind, below the subjective mind, even below the subconscious mind into the cosmic, which is works of great stillness. It also suggests the law of vibration with the waves before us and the guiding light of the lighthouse and the smooth movement of the ship before us and the building of the light. As you look at it, you'll find that it builds and builds, and we see that great pathway of light. Each of us, as we look out over the water, has our own unique path and light to work on. And it reminds me that in the very poetic nature of Francis Augustus Silver's work, it reminds me of a very influential person for him and the persons that he was part of the movement, the Luminists, and also the great movement to do with nature in 19th century America, the Hudson River School. They're very influenced by the Hudson, by the New England transcendentalists, such as Ralph Waldo Emerson, or in the tradition of Emily Dickinson. And Ralph Waldo's celebrated essay, Nature, that we learn about in our Rosicrucian studies and concurrences. He said the following that is highly poetic in a prose work, but Emerson was a poet in his own right, but prose can be quite poetic in its expression, as is his painting. It's very befitting in terms of what Silva would have had in mind. You look at the painting, Emerson's eyes, and this expression, they harmonize. What Rosicrucians refer to as harmonium on all levels of being. We return to reason and faith. There I feel that nothing can befall me in life. No disgrace, no calamity, leaving me my eyes, which nature cannot repair. Standing on the bare ground, my head bathed by the blithe air and uplifted into infinite spaces, all mean egotism vanishes. I become a transparent eyeball. I am nothing. I see all. The currents of the universal being circulate through me. I am part or parcel of God. So you can see in a way that's a description of the deeper meaning of Francis Augustus' master work. Titled An August Morning, but also of our ascent to the heights of the celestial sanctum and attunement with the cosmic there. Now, in continuing, let's consider some further artwork that's highly poetic. They're both an artist and a poet. These works, I think you may actually recognize. We see a work here titled La Pastora Garden, Santa Cruz. It's a watercolor dating from 1992 by Sir Derek Walcott from St. Lucia. He was very, very much inspired and loved his homeland, St. Lucia, but he also knew the Caribbean wells, such as in Trinidad. I know many of you know in Trinidad, the great Santa Cruz Valley that we see depicted before us. And we know Derek Walcott is an artist and poet working in the very demanding media of watercolor, that he thought all artwork, I mean his art, his paintings, was to do with light, but also in the deep sense of light of knowledge and understanding that we apply as mystics. Also, we see a similar work by Derek Walcott here that is entitled Immortelle, again, based in the Santa Cruz Valley in a watercolor from 2001. In these very poetic, gentle works, you'll see he's very subtly suggested inspiring scene, a love for the Santa Cruz Valley, a love for nature, and like the New England transcendentalists, takes us deeper into the experience of the divine, the creator. In a similar fashion, if we consider even one stanza from the celebrated poet's work, from his poem, Love After Life, we'll see here, again, this concept of coming into the deeper understanding of communion with nature, understanding the laws of nature, experiencing the divine within. The time will come when with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome. And this reminds many Rosicrucians, of course, of how we have our home sanctum, the sacred mini temple in our home. We have a mirror before us where we, with elation, read ourselves, the divine within, the master within, our true nature. And we have this great gift through the muse and poet, Derek Walcott. To conclude our work, I wish to speak directly now to the celebrated Rosicrucian poet, servant, and officer. Recently, there's been a book. It's available. I'll give you the resources on the rosicrucian.org website, a book of poetry, Upon a Quiet, by Michael Shilluli. And in it is a wonderful example of all the things we've been talking about in terms of poetry and its expression of the ineffable, the value of it expressing that through the cosmic experience, Michael was able to then convey his poem and emulate the cosmic. And by giving us that, we were able to tune with the cosmic and have our own emulations of the cosmic, either through our own poetic writing or whatever creative expression we wish to take. In a way, we can think of this whole presentation on mythical poetry as an example of how we can be co-creators with the divine in our own life, whether that takes the form of art, sciences, culinary arts, or whatever form it is for you. We're dealing with not only the mastery of one particular art form, but the mastery of life. And befittingly, we see the master expressed on his shirt. I know many of you have been reading the poems and being inspired by them. And the unseen self say, "Oh, my mysterious unseen self, animating what I see, upon my thoughts alone you appear, the magic of you through me." Great, everyone. At this time, I'll ask Karen to post in the chat for you the resources you may wish to explore further, and also to upload the chats as a PDF document for you. I think you'll find it easiest to access the PDF document because the chat are not readily copied. You can click the link, or you can do a screenshot copy of them, but you may wish to just download the PDF document and you'll get it all at once. So by way of conclusion, I'd like to say that we've been following up on the November 1972 issues of the Rosicrucian Digest, including the article Mystical Poetry by Peter Bowden. And we've considered our own mystical experience, that while it's ineffable, that is beyond word expression in essential terms, it is nevertheless eminently worthwhile describing and sharing through various forms of creative expression, because that'll help others to attune with the cosmic, and with their own mystical experience, they'll be drawn upward in deep memory and cosmic attunement to our expression. And we've considered wide-ranging expressions of poetry for the conveyance of mystical experience and the emulation of the cosmic. In this way, we've continued to explore Rosicrucian laws and principles and their creative expression and application for the mastery of life, harmonious living, and service.